Hello, hello, testing 1 2 3. I can hear myself humming. There we go. All right. Hello, this is Chiak. We are back with Omen Exitio Plague. Let's continue the story. I feel like I'm definitely in the latter stages of the main story. I don't know. I'm probably just going to try to go for an hour here. And we'll see. We'll see how long the chapters take, right? So, alone against the world. Approaching the door of your flat and closing it again behind you, you feel almost as if you're sleepwalking. Suddenly, everything you've worked on over recent months has fallen into ruin around you, as if it had all been a dream. Bejrink's version of events has obviously been accepted as official truth, to the extent that even you have begun to doubt yourself. In addition to this crushing self-doubt, you feel the weight of a strong, violent, and invisible threat at the back of your mind. You look around the flat, thinking of the stolen notes. Now it is confirmed in your mind that the theft had not been a random break-in. The thieves had clearly known exactly what they were looking for. Ultimately, there is a sense of satisfaction in knowing that you are not merely paranoid. There seems to be an intricate conspiracy surrounding you. I'm in trouble, and I fear I may have put you in danger too. Reginald is listening to you carefully as you recount and explain recent events and the suspicions you have accumulated. Then you tell him your fear that you may be suffering from paranoia. I wouldn't call it paranoia, it just sounds like caution to me. I won't complain about leaving these Dutch snobs and getting back to the comfort of London. Besides, they're utterly clueless about meat pies. Don't you worry, I'll be in London before you have time to put the belly back on. Reginald laughs heartily. All right, old boy. Don't mind admitting that I'm looking forward to being back in England. You embrace your friend and then accompany him to the ticket office. Only once you have seen him with a ticket in his hand and walking up the gangway of the boat, you turn back to the flat. Perhaps you should be doing exactly the same thing as Reginald, getting back to London. After all, Delft has nothing left to offer you. You know full well that as soon as they realize that it was started deliberately, you will probably be accused of the laboratory fire. In fact, if there really is a conspiracy against you, it will give them the perfect excuse to apprehend you. You must leave Delft as soon as possible. Okay, I just see my experience points where it's at. I can't run away. That's the thing. My agility, anytime I try agility, it's absolute crap for me. Consider whether there is anything you haven't yet tried at Delft. I kind of want to see what happens. You pace the wooden floorboards of the flats, thinking and trying to come up with some way of proceeding here in Delft. But any thoughts you have come immediately up against the problem of your relative isolation and lack of contacts here. London is the only logical option. You no longer have any responsibilities or ties here. You immediately start packing your belongings in preparation to leave. With the money still at your disposal, it shouldn't be hard to get a place on the next steamer for London, and you will have time on the trip to plan carefully your next course of action. You may even persuade the University of London to enter into competition with Delft. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you're busy finishing packing your bags, but can't get these paranoid thoughts out of your mind. Even without any definite evidence to back up your suspicions, you cannot help but feel tangled up in a web of conspiracies. All of a sudden, You are overwhelmed by a sense of panic. This whole situation, your life itself, is becoming too much for you to deal with, and you are worried about losing your sanity. You feel trapped. You need to get out of Delft as soon as possible. It takes some time for you to get yourself out of this self-pitying and defeatist state. You even come close to throwing in the towel and not even trying to improve your situation. But at your lowest point, a glimmer of hope stirs and awakens inside. You shake yourself and sit up. You have to get back to London as soon as possible, even if it doesn't improve your mental state. At least you will be comforted by being home. You hear someone knocking at the door. You approach the door but do not open immediately. You ask who it is, and a voice with a heavy Northern African accent claims to be a messenger. Let's approach the door. You cautiously open the door just enough to see who is there, but not so much as to expose yourself to any risk. Waiting, there is a black man with a scarred face wearing a robe which looks much too small for him. He hands you a note. Messenger, a message for Mr. Huntington. You take the note from the hands of the man, who looks at you with a slightly idiotic smile. You thank him, and he nods. For a second, you seem to catch a strange twinkle in the man's eyes. It's over in an instant, and it may only have been a trick of the light or your imagination. Right away, you sit down and begin reading the unexpected message. Jake. This is the second time I'm writing to advise you. I hope that the fulfillment of the predictions of my first message has convinced you of my good intentions. You do not know me, Jake, but I am a friend, and the time has come to warn you. You shiver involuntarily. You had completely forgotten about the mysterious message which you received in Zanzibar. Right. I also forgot about that message, and I don't know what the message said. Do we have notes about that? Wait. Scott's Fate, Strange Marker, Nightmare Forgotten. No, I don't really see. Research, Thief on Board, Porting to the Brass. Yeah, no, I don't see anything about message. So, yeah, I don't know what the message was. Maybe hopefully you'll refresh me, game. I can imagine that you have already started noticing strange things happening around you and must have many suspicions. I can confirm for you now that these are indeed justified and that you have attracted the attention of a very powerful and very secret cult. This cult counts among its members captains of industry, nobles, politicians, and many other types of powerful people, and they have only one overriding objective: total control. They have different ways of gaining it, but there is a plan that they have been pursuing for a very long time. It is a plan that involves the disease. Epidemics are one of their main weapons of control, and thus you have assumed a key role in their eyes. You must be ready to defend yourself. A friend. You reread the message twice. You are quite certain that it is no joke, but can you really trust this friend? In light of this latest development, the thoughts of returning to London is looking even more attractive. Just looking at how many points, 32? 50, I want to go more for other things. Okay. Trust. Because what else do I've got at this point? You will carry out your plan as you had already decided, but because of this latest warning, you think it is advisable to procure a pistol for yourself. You remember having seen a gun shop on your wandering around Delft. In the end, you find it, but quite a bit further away than you had remembered. The shopkeeper welcomes you with a smile. You tell him that you are looking for a small, easily concealable pistol. He shows you various models, but one of them immediately stands out as exactly what you were looking for. You buy it and leave. Oh, I got a gun. Am I gonna lose this one too? Unwanted guess. Okay. So that's obviously about the items. My one item, the revolver. Fantastic. Unwanted guess. Everything is ready. You need only leave your flat, head to the port, board your ship, and you will be on your way home. As you're about to leave the flat, you hear footsteps on the stairs outside. They stop right outside your door. You pull out the gun and hold it ready. Dr. Huntington, I must speak with you. They do not even knock. They know full well that you are inside and that you can hear them. You're frozen on the spot, waiting. After a brief, eerie silence, the door is violently kicked down and 3 men burst in. Let's wait. How do you know it's not the police, right? The 3 men burst into the room, but they instantly freeze when they see the pistol in your hand. Dr. Huntington, I think you are mistaken. You gesture for them to leave. Keeping them at gunpoint, you decide to escape. Interesting. Okay. The 3 men stare in silence as you maneuver towards the door. The gun points it firmly in their direction the whole time. I wouldn't do that, Dr. Huntington. You only make more trouble for yourself. Moving slowly and keeping all 3 men in view, you reach the top of the stairs and start moving down them. The moment they are out of sight, you turn and start running. You leave the building and sprint along the pavement. Without much time to think, you decide on the closest familiar place, the home of a colleague from the university. In a few minutes, you reach the house and start pounding insistently. I'm not saying this right. I don't know. I suddenly can't say this word. Insistently on the door. Your heart racing, you turn back to the street. So far, there is no sign of the 3 men, but it's only a question of time before they catch up. A valet comes to the door. The valet won't let you in, so you start yelling the name of your colleague. After a few seconds, you see his face appear at the window. You quickly try to explain the danger you are in and about the men chasing you. To your horror, he does not even answer you, but gestures to his valet to get rid of this drunk himself or call the police. You move back over to the window to protest, but as soon as you do, the valet closes and locks the door. Let's run. You're enraged, but you have no time to protest or think of anything else. The men chasing you might be around the corner at any moment. You continue running. You instinctively think of going to the police, but that could make things worse. You are quite certain that you will be the prime suspect for the fire in the university laboratory. Without any clear destination, you keep running, trying to lose your pursuers. Then, as you are turning a corner, someone grabs hold of you. Before you can even see who it is, you are knocked unconscious by a blow to the head. Don't tell me I lose the gun suddenly. Damn, what the hell? You wake up still groggy. You try to get up from the bed in which you find yourself, but suddenly feel a painful throbbing in your head. The memories come back. The memories come flooding back. Delft, Bezrink, the attack. Where the hell are you anyway? You slide out of a comfortable bed of fine linen sheets and look about the room. It too is spacious, pleasant, and in addition to the bed, there is a sitting area and a small bookcase. You are bewildered, as if in a dream. This could be a guest bedroom of a stately house. There are no windows, but at the end of the room is a heavy, ornate door. You approach the door and try to open it. The handle turns, but the door is locked. Do I have strength? Hello? Is anyone there? You shout a few more times, gradually getting louder, but no answer comes. You decide to give up with the door and try to explore the room instead. I didn't want to force the door open just in case I injured myself in the process. Anyway, before long, you have confirmed your initial impressions. Everything is refined and high quality, better than your home back in London. Occasionally, you return to the door and try the handle in vain. Explore. You scan the room, examining every inch of the walls in search of any opening or clue that might yield further information. You examine the furniture and the bookcase for a second time. You find nothing, however, save the fact that the room must be cleaned and tidied fairly frequently. It must have had many guests over a long period of time. A sudden noise What the hell is this? A sudden noise makes you jump. The door opens. In silence, you prepare for confrontation. A man enters the room wearing only a sort of monochrome kilt, a skull cap, and a strange stone mask. He is carrying a tray of food. You immediately start asking questions, but the man ignores you completely. He puts down the tray and turns to leave. You go forward trying to stop him, but you're suddenly paralyzed by an intense pain in your arm. You can only turn your head an inch or two, enough to glimpse a hair-thin needle protruding from your right shoulder. Watching him leave, you notice another man by the door, dressed in the same bizarre manner. You can only watch them silently leave and close the door. After a few minutes, the paralysis weakens. Somewhat discombobulated, you pull out the needle and look at the tray, on which there are various tasty-looking dishes. Several hours pass before anything else happens. The door opens, and this time it's a woman who enters. She is dressed identically to the men. Bare-chested, skirt, skull cap, and stone mask. As absurd as the clothing is, there is something sacerdotal about it that reminds you of pictures of Sumerian and Egyptian priests you vaguely remember seeing somewhere. Again, you're dumbfounded by the whole affair. But this time you notice straight away the man standing at the doorway. You watch as the woman places another full tray of food on the table and takes away the untouched previous one. You look at the food and inhale its aroma. The dishes are appetizing and clearly prepared with care. Your stomach grumbles. You haven't eaten for many hours. Oh, no, sorry. No, character sheet. Just constantly checking. You decide to eat. I mean, if I'm trying to escape, I need to eat, right? Because what's the point of poisoning me or whatever? unless it's infected or something. But if I want to escape, I need the energy to escape. So let's eat. You sit down at the table to eat. You have concluded that if they had wanted you dead, you would have already been killed in some other fashion. So you tuck in hungrily to the juicy steak and excellent Merlot. It is as delicious as it looks. After a time, oh, hi Ghost RC. Yeah, I didn't have any other videos for today, so, and just because this requires a lot of reading, so it's just better to have it. It's really difficult to do this in like 2-hour plus sets, so. And there's time, so here we go. After time, you slow down and begin to reflect. The knife which you have been given for the meat is not particularly sharp for a steak knife, but put to someone's throat, it could be an effective weapon. Furthermore, it seems strange that they would not have considered this. Still. I mean, how am I going to use it on the next person? Because there's two people, right? There's one guy that stands by the door. Are they going to care? We know this is a cult scenario, are they going to care if they threaten someone's life? It seems strange that they would not have considered this. Don't bother is probably what they expect. On reflection, you have decided that the level of organization displayed in keeping you in such a manner is such that it would be foolish to think that they would carelessly provide you with a weapon unless they were convinced that it would be useless in any case. Because yeah, if there's a guy at the door, ready to paralyze you. Even if, I don't know, I'm assuming it's like trying to take someone hostage, but are they going to care? I don't know. You abandon the idea of taking the knife and finish your meal. You will clearly need to come up with a better plan if you have any chance of escaping. Many days have passed. Even though you have no way of knowing exactly how many, if this absurd imprisonment is to continue much longer, you're quite sure that you will lose your mind. Once again, you are lying in bed, thinking after having been woken up. You get up to do some exercise, and as you are doing the last push-up, you raise your head to see something very unusual and unexpected. The door is ajar. Okay, 16 points. I know I'm past 50. You approach the door slowly. You are listening out for even the slightest noise, but there is only silence. You try to peer beyond the small gap between the door and the frame, but it's too narrow. You stop to think for a moment. Okay, let's take caution. You open the door very slowly and silently, inch by inch. In the surrounding silence, every small creak seems to you a deafening screech. Having opened it a few inches, you peer out. Seeing an empty corridor, you leave the room immediately. You find yourself in a corridor lined with several doors, all identical to that from which you came. There is wallpaper covering the walls, making it impossible to understand what type of building it is. There is nothing else, only a corridor with 6 doors. Just seeing what I need so far. Okay. I'm assuming this might be another section where we're just kind of collecting points. Let's try the nearest door. You go to the door directly opposite and try the handle. It's locked, just as was your own until a few moments ago. Put your ear to the door to see if you can hear anything inside the room. You put your ear to the door and concentrate on trying to pick up even the slightest noise. You think you can hear breathing, but you decide that it could just be a trick of the mind, or the pressure caused by having your ear pressed against the door. You leave the door and try another. You try another door, this time one in the center of the corridor. It is closed. You try the opposite one. The handle turns. The Club of Stone Masks. Okay. Warily, you push the door and enter the room. You find yourself in a large room with a huge library, leather armchairs, and sumptuous furnishings. It looks like a lounge of any of the more prestigious gentlemen clubs in London. Men and women are sitting around quietly conversing. Although they are dressed in the same bizarre clothes with which you are by now familiar, grinning stone masks, kilts, and that bizarre little skull cap, their posture and overall bearing seems to identify them as nobility. On their wrists, they all have the same tattoo, a shape reminiscent of an eye. You know that you have seen that tattoo before, in Zanzibar. It cannot be a coincidence, so they have been watching you for some time. You remember something else, the almost identical symbol you saw in the book about ancient Egyptians in London. What could the connection be? The atmosphere is extremely surreal. They are acting as if you were not even there. Finally, someone notices you. Dr. Huntington, finally you have decided to join us. His voice is muffled by the mask, and he makes a gesture for you to sit in a nearby armchair. Everyone present turns to look at you through the dark holes in their masks. On the table in front of you, there is a glass of red wine, which you are sure is of the finest quality. You do not dare to take it, but rather listen carefully to the masked man who is speaking to you. Dr. Huntington, let us not get off on the wrong foot. I can imagine that you have many questions, and I assure you, if you make the right choices, there will be a time when you will be given all the answers you seek, and many that, as yet, you do not. You can feel all the people in the room staring at you, analyzing you. After spending days in your luxurious prison, you know that you are unlikely to gain anything with a direct attack. Yet there is something familiar about that voice. Though it's muffled, it's probably Meyer. Though it's muffled, its tone and phrasing remind you of one you have heard before. There is a strange accent, but the distortion makes it difficult to identify. But the height and body size match well. Could the man who is addressing you actually be Meyer? I will have no answers now then? Answers will come. First of all, to have them, you must make choices, hopefully the right ones. We do, after all, have at least one objective in common. For now, you have no room to maneuver, and he is at pains to point that out to you. However, the mere fact that you are still alive means that somehow they need you. You let the man continue. We are, let's say, a very exclusive club. Our members come from the elite of many different specialities and different parts of the world. We include nobility, entrepreneurs, and military men, even some, like you, from the world of science. We have been active as a group for a very long time. Our work goes back countless generations. We have always had significant influence on all major historical events, and now we are close to achieving what could be termed a new level of influence. As you're listening to his words, you wish it was possible to write them off as those of a madman, but you cannot. In fact, they seem to describe a world very close to that which you have been imagining. Certain resources and unique capabilities allow access to our group, capabilities such as your own, Dr. Huntington. You are an intelligent man, Doctor. I do not imagine that I need to tell you just how many advantages there are for you once you have decided to join us. For this reason, we have taken care to not let your name become public knowledge. We do not allow publicity for our members. "72, what's the note?" This is a character. Okay. I mean, we think it's Meyer. I think it's Meyer, but he's got a twin brother. We are not here to force you, Dr. Huntington, and we will give you some time to consider it. We will see you here tomorrow. In the meantime, please enjoy our hospitality. As he speaks, he is getting up. Several other members of the club are already moving towards a door at the back of the room, and he queues behind them. You start in their direction too, but your way is quickly blocked by another masked man. He is silently pointing at the door behind you, the one from which you came, with a particularly muscular arm. Can I? Just... You're quite certain that the man has no intentions of killing you. You stand a few feet away from him and make threatening gestures, as if you're going to hit him. He doesn't move a muscle, though. You cannot be sure his face didn't flinch under the mask. He merely raises his arm again, silently and insistently pointing at the door. Defeated, you turn and go back to your room. Entering the corridor, you find the door of your room open and going inside. Your eyes widen at what you find there. There is a wonderful 5-course feast of fine food, including some quail and other such dishes, some that you don't even recognize. You have only just crossed the threshold when the door closes behind you. You need not check to know that it is locked again. You awaken from tormented sleep, full of terrible nightmares, which you can barely remember. You are left with distressing imitations of dark and ominous forms, but any sort of concrete image fades immediately away. When you calm down a little, you see that the door to the corridor is wide open. You can see that into the corridor, and even a part of the door which you know leads to the club. You presume that the door is also unlocked. As I remain, you decide to ignore the members of this elusive club. You're quite happy to avoid further predications or attempts at indoctrination. You stay in your room, devour the breakfast that is waiting for you there, and then try to reason through all the events that have occurred to you thus far. As is by now your routine, you lie down on your bed after eating, and soon you are asleep. Upon awakening, you can see that the door is once again open. This time, however, there is no meal. Time goes on, and you go on ignoring the open door. Many hours have passed, perhaps even a whole day. Your stomach starts grumbling. Since you decide to stay in your room, no more food has been brought to you. I mean, either I can outright refuse them in front of their faces, or I can just go on hunger strike, which I'm not sure. How many points do I have right now? 78. Tried to keep myself healthy. I mean, okay, we'll just go there, go into the hall, and say no, I guess. Entering the large room, your nostrils are immediately hit with a powerful aroma of roast meat. You look to see it there on the table, as if waiting for you. Trying to remain calm, you sit and help yourself to a healthy-sized portion. Welcome back, Dr. Huntington. In the room, there are fewer people, although you cannot be certain given the concealment of the mask. You presume that the man who is speaking to you is the same as the previous occasion. As you can see now, the right choices bring rewards. The room continues to fill, and the man watches you as you eat your plate of food. When you finish, he gets up to... Okay. Oh, so technically it's already started. I thought it was like actually talking and stuff. When you finish, he gets up to go to join the conversation with a group of other members a little way off. A woman approaches you, entirely unconcerned with her nudity. Gesturing, she shows you the room, apparently inviting you to enjoy its many pleasures. Then she goes off to join a group of people playing cards at a low table. Let's leave. You decide to return to your room, that you're unwilling to take part in this perverse pantomime. No one stops you or calls after you as you go. Back in your room, you sit in the chair to mull things over. You do not notice falling asleep. The door of your room is still open, but this time there is no food on the table. You have probably only been dozing for a few minutes. Time goes on, and you go on ignoring the open door. Many hours have passed, perhaps even a whole day. Interesting. It's the same thing. What happens if I stay? You stoically remain in your room, letting the hours drift by and trying with ever less success to ignore the protestation of your stomach. The hunger is once again becoming unbearable. Finally you succumb. Okay, so no matter what, you have to... Okay. Finally you succumb. Weakly, you get up and totter over to the door of the club. Entering the large room, your nostrils immediately hit. Powerful aroma. Okay, exact same thing. A choice with no actual choice, huh? Okay, this is the same. Make choices, bring rewards. Gesturing, she shows you the room, apparently inviting you to enjoy its many pleasures. Then she goes off to join the group of people. Leaving is now not even an option. Let's drink something, I guess. You decide to get involved this time, so you take a drink, a plate of food from the buffet, and move from one group of people to another, silently observing. As you approach the man and woman, they turn to you, nod politely, and then resume their discussion as if you were no longer there. You realize that apart from the partial nudity, the masks, and the presence of ladies, you may as well be spending an afternoon at a typical exclusive gentleman's club in London. You start to listen in to some of the conversations, but they are vacuous and incredibly dull. Suddenly, the ringing of a bell draws everyone's attention. At the sound of the bell, all the members leave the room. Again, you're surprised, but then after a few moments, the heavily built member of the club reappears and again points you to the door. Evidently, you are not allowed to be in the room alone. You go back to your room. Days pass. Thus, each time your door opens, the room is available to you, but only when occupied by members of the club. You visit every time. You are welcomed and greeted, but no one speaks to you directly. You have been to the room of the club several times now, with the implicit understanding that if you stop going, you'll stop receiving food. You cannot fathom the intentions of these strange people, at least not until you see a series of newspaper article clippings intentionally placed at the entrance of the hall. They are all articles about accidents involving the supposedly random disappearance of famous people, overturned carriages, fatal beatings by thugs and arson attacks. The dates and origins of the newspapers from which they have been taken differ widely. Studying them carefully, you almost want to smile. The message, the threat they imply is clear. Crystal clear. Well, Dr. Huntington, what do you think of our club? At this point, it's clear that your only option is to pretend to play along. Let's go bold, I guess. What do I have to do to become a member? And the caution is, I believe I was mistaken. I'm interested in your offer after all. Okay. Yeah, but let's just go bold. I don't know. Many things, Dr. Huntington, many things. Nothing, however, that you are not perfectly able to accomplish. Failed an achievement? Oh, what's the achievement? You have caused some trouble to your jailers and tried to... Oh. I don't mind failing this achievement? Never mind. So instead of just following along to whatever, I put up some fuss. I mean, I didn't take the knife, but I guess that was enough fuss. I suggest you go to your room and get some rest, Dr. Huntington. Tomorrow you will awaken to your new life. Then you may begin to receive some of the answers which you so desire. For the upteenth time, you watch as the members of the club slowly leave the room, followed by your interlocutor. This time you are left entirely alone. Even the muscular guard has left with the others. Following the advice you have just been given, you head back into your room. Your dreams were chaotic and fragmented. You wake up slightly dizzy and tense. On the table there has appeared a folded piece of paper, and on the chair are the clothes in which you awoke here the first time. After dressing, you take a look at the sheet of paper. It contains instructions that tell you when and how to contact the cult. If the date mentioned in the text is near, you calculate that you have spent nearly 3 weeks in this prison. You fold and pocket the paper and go out into the hallway. You try the door of the club, but this time it is locked. You try another, but it is also locked. Strange. You try one more door. This time the door opens and you are immediately struck by natural light and fresh air. You stumble out, drunk for a few moments on fresh air and liberty. You find yourself on a small, rather sordid alleyway. Coming out onto a main road, you see something which lifts your spirits even further. Through a light fog, you see an unmistakable profile, the clock tower of Big Ben. All this time, thinking that you were in the club in Delft with a very London atmosphere, you were in fact in London all along. Let's explore. You feel a desire to walk a little, to re-establish contact with reality. Your captivity over the last few weeks makes everything around you seem hollow and artificial. What has happened to reality? Now you are aware that the world around you hides more secrets than you could have imagined. Soon you find yourself wandering without purpose nor destination. You feel eyes watching you constantly. After the first exhilarating moments, the city seems to you now alien and oppressive. Before you are overcome by this creeping sense of paranoia, you call a hansom cab, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, and head home. Okay. Let's take a drink of water. Strategies for a judgment day. You know, I think after this, even if it's a short chapter or not, I'll make this the last one. And then I imagine next stuff might be end of set. Maybe, I don't know, I'm hoping. Your study seems small to you now, cold and foreign. Your encounter with the sect has made everything from your old reality appear fake. You pick up a photographic portrait of Helen, looking for something to hold on to, but even her memory seems distant now. Zanzibar, The epidemic Delft and the meeting with the sect. Darkness has begun to consume your very life. It all seems completely insane. Ironically, the only coherent thing in all this chaos is the bizarre cult itself. Reflecting on recent events, you think it increasingly likely that the German who gave you the money are members of this cult. It would be a logical assumption. Thus, whether you like it or not, you have already collaborated with them. After this thought, you have another which makes you angry. You cannot help but feel that you have been at the mercy of events beyond your control. You have been controlled and used as a tool. You must somehow regain control of your life. Excuse me as I just want to get rid of all the shining icons here. I'm close to 100, so we can go. I mean, we'll see when it comes up, what we need to go for in terms of observation medicine. You only have 3 more days before you must meet the sect again, and you must prepare yourself. You toy with the thoughts of accepting their proposal. Why should it be so absurd? You pace the house, thinking, trying to clear your head, when you notice a letter on the table in the hall. The envelope is entirely blank. You pick it up with a curious sense of expectation. Dear Jake, unfortunately my warnings proved to be of little use. As I write, I understand that you have been taken captive by the mad Hastalic cult. They will not harm you, at least not physically, and will not keep you locked up for long. Their sole purpose is to seduce you and bend you to their will. The words of this mysterious informant seems almost in mockery, and your initial reaction is to throw the letter into the fire. There are 2 things which strike you as interesting, though. Firstly, the letter speaks definitively of a cult, the religious implication of which disturb you greatly. And secondly, it mentions a peculiar name, completely unfamiliar to you. Who or what is Hastilic? The comet approaches and they are hurrying. This is to our advantage, Jake. With your intelligence and inner strength, it will not be easy for them to brainwash you. I know, too, that you are to meet with them shortly for your initiation. Another piece of information that sounds absurd, recalling ancient and primitive beliefs and superstitions, a comet. You have not yet been corrupted by their influence. This may well be your best chance. It would be the ideal moment to deal with them a decisive blow. It could perhaps even destroy them. This time, you could have some support, however. Hang a stripe of white cloth from your window to let me know. A friend. You reflect on the letter's contents. Most of all, you are wondering whether the informant really does have your best interest at heart. Throw the letter into the fire. The informant seems to want to brainwash you himself. You agree they must be stopped. Of course we're going to agree here. You reread the letter. You're unsure as to whether or not this mysterious informant can be trusted, but it seems clear that you have a common enemy, that which he calls the cult of Hastilic. The cult is a threat. You are still unclear as to its intentions and objective, but you now know that something must be done to stop it. You have always considered yourself a man of principle, and this is not the time to back down. However, it would be unreasonable to assume you can act effectively only by yourself. I'm afraid to call on Reginald because I don't want to get them killed, but trying to do things yourself. I mean, what can Reginald do? That's my question. I don't know. Was there calm Reginald decide you would be better off alone? I mean, God, I'm not doing well alone or with people. Actually, everyone else died before anything happened. That's how it didn't help that I ran away. But I didn't think I had the points. I didn't know it was going to matter. Sorry, Reginald. I hope you survived. You call a handsome cabin. It takes you to the university. You walk around the grounds looking for your friend with a mounting anxiety. Finally, you find him in one of the lecture halls, busy correcting papers. Reginald greets you with a broad smile, but then he stops when he notices your frown and guesses that this is not a mere courtesy visit. You explain what happened to you, the situation in general, and what exactly you intend to do. Reginald looks at you hesitantly. He seems concerned about the idea of embarking on this plan. Jake, I'm your friend, and you know, I'm always ready to help you out, but you know, I'm just not what would be called a man of action. I'll try to help you in your preparation and in organizing an escape if things were to go wrong, but I just can't imagine me being able to participate in direct combat. Smiling, you see, direct combat, I figured. Just support, dude. Smiling, you reassure him that you have no intentions of putting him in any danger and embrace him. His support, however, is exactly what you need. A good friend, so the achievement I unlocked. You're pleased that you are able to garner support for what you have to do. Alone, you might even have given up or done something unwise. Okay, I'm thinking that actually might be the... Okay. So, I'm gonna assume that's like providing escape. You prepare yourself for the confrontation. You try to mentally draw up a plan, to turn everything into a logical sequence of actions and events, not only to be able to act more effectively, but also to anticipate any unexpected weaknesses. If you want to succeed, you will have to be as calculating as possible. You ascend the stairs and get ready to put the agreed signal at the window. Despite not fully trusting your ally, you do believe that he is hostile to the cult. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy. I mean, that looks like a suspicious thing to put up in your window anyway, but sure. Reginald arrives early and you chat with him to kill time. I haven't felt this anxious since my own student days. There's someone at the door. Only one night has passed since you hung the signal at the window. You open the door to find the messenger. He is a stocky black man with penetrating eyes, and he is holding a package. As soon as he has given it to you, he is gone, without even waiting for a tip. You slowly open the strange box containing various items and a note. The note details certain chemicals to be purchased, and there are instructions assembling the whole into a small explosive. It looks like materials one would use to build an explosive device. I just want to be doubly sure that this goes correctly. You're sitting in your study, preparing to build the device by reading the instructions. You assemble the components, carefully mixing the chemicals, and even more carefully pour them into the central part. The whole thing is a very delicate operation, and it takes considerable time. After several hours' work, you have successfully put together something bizarre looking and slightly disturbing. The bomb is ready. Huh, that is an interesting contraption. So I have 56 points, so I still, if I need more speechcraft or observation, hell, if I get 90, I can get agility as well. Even though, I don't know why. Why do I bother? Agility has never worked for me. Along with the instructions for the device, there is also directions for the preparation of a fireproof ointment to spread on your body. You prepare this, too, with all due care. Ooh. You inspect the device. It's small, but definitely not enough to be concealed on your persons. Think carefully. Something you learned in your time as their prisoner is that the cult is made up of people belonging to the nobility. No one would think it strange for you to arrive there wearing a top hat. In fact, they would probably see it as an act of ostentation and respect on your part. They might even like it. The bomb would fit perfectly inside the topper. Okay. Oh, I do not like this title, Mr. Huntington's Rebirth. Okay. Alright, we got 68 points. They've manufactured the incendiary bomb. Okay. And with that, I'm going to end the set here. And we'll continue on next time. Again, so hold on, let's look at the calendar. October 27th. I'm not going to say probably around the same time, but who knows? It really depends on work and stuff like that, right? And other than that, I'm guessing, because I know there's side stories, so maybe that would continue maybe on the 29th, or maybe I'll leave it off for October 30th. If I want to play something else on the 29th. I need to decide. Either way, thank you for liking if you liked. Thank you for commenting if you commented. Thank you for subscribing if you subscribed. Thank you for favoriting if you favorited. Thank you for simply clicking on this video. Until next time, guys. See ya!